Welcome to Ricky's Rewrites, but we're taking an existing property, putting it through a grinder, and doing it again. I have only done a couple of intro videos, so now an actual movie rewrite. I'm excited. So this will probably make or break the series. In our intro video, we discussed a few ideas. If you haven't watched the planning videos, I'm not going to tell you. Watch the videos. If you don't know, you're in for less of a surprise than you think. So this video will discuss plans to rewrite Sam Raimi Spider-Man franchise, starting with this, Video 1, Spider-Man 1. This will take elements from Spider-Man movies, comics, games, shows. Let's begin. So the movie opens with grainy footage. Its scientist, Norman, is on a recorder in Oscorp Gear. This is trial 278, first human trials. We have run out of time and can't afford to let these pencil pushers delay my genius any further. Getting angry. This vial would transform my DNA similar to a serum once used by the military, with one key difference. The compound, and then he's cut off. Someone's trying to break into the lab. You can't do this. You can't stop this now. You hear a faint, Norman, no! And he slams the vial down. Smoke, choking, screen goes black. Maniacal laughter. And a scream. So there you go. You get a Green Goblin jump off point. There you go. You don't get to see him yet. It'll be a reveal later. So Spider-Man has been putting away enemies left and right with relative ease, because he has freaking superpowers, man. This movie should kick off with a big-time fight with some bum that we won't need in the immediate future plans, and it's Sandman. Good introduction, need the heat, and will be a nice callback in the future. So Spider-Man opens up, he's fighting with Sandman, he's too quick, Sandman's wearing down, getting stuck in all the webby, and a face kick, Sandman is hauled off. City loves them some Spider-Man, parade, parade, parade. Norman Osborn is watching the love fest from some laboratory on TV where he is testing gadgets and, I don't know, a pumpkin bomb. He looks at the TV footage, throws a pumpkin bomb at a still target, and smiles and wonders aloud, I wonder what it would be like to hit a moving one. So the camera shows a paper next to him, and Spider-Man slams his hand down, growling, fade to black. Growl turns to laughter. End of scene. So now we got Norman, and he just doesn't like Spider-Man because he's going a little crazy, and he's kind of Green Goblin-ish, and we've got Spider-Man, who's kind of awesome, and kicking all the butt. So this is our first Peter Parker sighting, so we're gonna go normal. He's chilling out. He's a confident Peter. Mini montage at school, sitting outside of lunch with Harry, walking the halls with Gwen, catching the eye of some redhead. So now we're at night. Peter and Harry and Gwen are leaving a theater, and they hear explosions downtown. Gwen's dad, Cop George, is there to pick her up at the theater. Comes over the radio, attacked by something, ... and gets Gwen in the car. Harry runs past the cop car to the parking lot. George says, get home, Peter. Sees Peter run around the side of the building, and the other side of the building comes Spider-Man. So he scowls and gets into the car. Spider-Man swings through the city, seeing the fireballs and the explosions in the distance all over the place. Suddenly, his spider sense goes off as a baseball-sized object comes hurling at him. He catches it out of instinct and it explodes. So Peter is hit to the ground, is disoriented, people are running around like crazy. Green Goblin floats down on his glider and announces to the world he just wants target practice. I don't know, something weird. It's gotta be something lame. He's a bad guy. He just turned bad and he's crazy. So he activates another pumpkin bomb. Peter webs it to his hand. It detonates, injures Goblin, and he glides off. So George Stacy is standing behind Peter when they turn around, and George is there pointing a gun at him. George says, does he know who you are? Peter says no. George says, keep it that way, holsters his gun. Peter collects fragments from the pumpkin bomb, and off he goes. So now we know George knows. We know the Green Goblin is just there to cause chaos at this point. He's angry and upset and losing his mind and blah, blah, blah. And we've got a Spider-Man who still kind of looks like he's trying to figure out what that was going to do with this thing. So, Peter heads home, picks the fragments out, and then we see Gwen. She's just staring out some window, and Harry's at home. He's watching the news. Another little mini montage, I guess. The next morning, Peter wakes up, he's healed. And Peter goes off to Harry's house to study, and he notices Norman is there in the kitchen or something, and he's getting angrier as the conversation goes on, and Peter's asking Norman about new tests and creations at the lab, and if they've figured out this new development they're working on, science, blah, 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 blah. Finally, Norman gets irritated and slams his hand down on the table, and Peter realizes the hand is chewed up a little bit from shrapnel. He realizes Norman is the Green Goblin, so he plays it cool and leaves so not to blow his cover, and he wants to act, but he thinks about what George says. So Peter walks home, and he finds Gwen sitting on the front porch. She asks her dad, she says her dad's acting strange and doesn't want them to see each other. Peter protests, and they agree to keep seeing each other, so Peter walks to his bedroom, pulls out a strong test webbing from his drawer. So Peter wakes up to some thumping sounds in the night, looks out the window and sees the city. You know what? Morning. Peter wakes up to thumping sounds in the morning. Let's get a daytime fight, man. I'm getting tired of all these nighttime movies and darkness and everything. Peter wakes up to thumping sounds, looks out the window, sees the city in the day, and it's under attack. So Spider-Man swings off to the rooftop to assess the situation, sees Green Goblin, intercepts a bomb thrown at some real people, and he pulls it back at Green Goblin from behind. The surprise blast blows Green Goblin off his board, and he crashes to the ground next to him. So Spider-Man stands over him, notices that the suit is some sort of a higher grade suit, a little thicker, a little more armory, and Green Goblin rolls over laughing hysterically, and tosses a bomb up at Peter, who shoots his web as quick as he can, but the bomb goes off and blows him backwards. So Green Goblin pulls out another bomb, and he stands over Peter, and suddenly gunfire from the other officers, led by George, step in. So the people are coming to Spider-Man's rescue. And Peter runs at Green Goblin, the Goblin floats up on his glider, and then a big glider versus webbing fight through the city with bombs and punches and kicks and deflections and webbing, and Peter gets knocked across the roof in the fight, and Green Goblin floats up from the other side of the building, and Peter is struggling to his feet, and Goblin goes to fire rockets off from his glider, and here's Peter beaten from the fight through the city, and he webs them blocked. The glider explodes, Goblin blows back into some body of water of some sort, a pond, a lake, something, I don't know, river, and Spider-Man scans the water but can't find him. So when he returns to the roof, he collects the glider and swings it to the police, and George says they can't find him. Do you know who he is? And Spider-Man stops for a second and says no, before he swings off. So we just had this big fight. It's great. We've had Green Goblin has disappeared. We haven't killed him, which is a good thing. You don't have to kill all your villains. And now Harry doesn't have to be Green Goblin, and he can still be Harry. So Peter is walking through the city with Harry. Harry says his father has disappeared somewhere, and Harry is heading out of state for college, and he will be back one day. Then suddenly a jewelry store alarm rings out. Harry and Peter turn the corner and see a man screaming, "She robbed me! Where is she?" in the streets, and camera pans out to the roof to show Black Cat. And she smiles at Peter and runs off across the rooftops. End of movie. So, one thing I thought would be cool was instead of making the weird end credit scenes at the end pretty much meaningless, I want to introduce each next plot. So I wanted to just do the next movie, kind of bridge something. So we'll drive the interest up. This could be a warehouse full of goons crating or doing something warehousey, and flash of mechanical arms slamming things and a speech about running the city, crime, blah, 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 and Doc Ock review. So you got Doc Ock, you got the gang, you got the complete end of Spider-Man 1. So, I like this. It gives an establishment of an awesome Spider-Man, and shows him tough to beat. It shows him overpowering weaker villains and defeating the challenging ones, and also cleans up the Green Goblin, saves him for later. He's not dead. We don't have to bury Harry in him. Harry can do other things and other stories, and we can get to that later, but We set up the next two major plays in Spider-Man 2. The Stacy relationship is set. We need it there. We need to know who George is, and we need Gwen kind of teetering between the two of them, and we need Dr. Octopus and his gang, and they're trying to take the city, and we've seen Black Cat, and we know what she's doing, we know what she's about, we know what's going to happen with her, sort of. I would see this movie. I really would. So our bonus DVD origins, like we talked about in the first one, are going to be for Peter Parker, Sandman, and Norman Osborn. So we avoided origins on pretty much everybody except for Green Goblin. We opened up with a little bit of a Green Goblin origin there, so that's not bad. So we have laid out Spider-Man 1. Would you see it, or do you hate me? I'm writing, I'm cutting, I'm recording, so please let me know if I should continue my Spider-Man series by commenting, liking, sharing, and or subscribing. Find me on Facebook. The music is provided by Connor Stone at ConnorStoneMusic.com and on Facebook. I'm Ricky from Ricky's Rees, and see a freaking movie, nerd.